Mark's going to speak about aquaponics from you know, his background, and then we're going to open it up as we go through here, and any questions that come up as you guys want to ask them, then just go ahead and ask them. And we'll show a few pictures as we go through here. We got Mark's Facebook here, so there's a lot of pictures that are right there. And basically, aquaponics is different than hydroponics in that there's fish involved in it too. So it's a completely closed loop system where the clean water is coming into the fish, the nutrients and everything are being picked up by the intake up to the plants, and then the plants are being fed from the fish water. So it's a whole closed loop system. And Mark will talk about the types of fish and how big a unit needs to be, and answer a lot of questions for you. So, you know, Mark, why don't you come on up, and,
okay.
And then let me show you this thing over here so you can be guided through it. Okay, this is it, and then just go like this. Yeah. So you'll be good to go on that. Okay, thanks, Mark.
Well, this picture right here, this shows one of our main tables in a little tiny greenhouse that I have in my house. And this is a raft system, which means, as Dave was saying, the water comes out of the fish tank, circulates through a filter, and then it goes into these raft systems, which is basically a tray with some insulation about 2 inches thick. And I'll show you a picture here of what that looks like. Right here is some foam insulation. And that's just a blue board that you can pick up at any hardware store. And you want to make sure it's blue, not the pink stuff, not the white stuff. It's got to be the blue board, because that's the stuff that is certified not to leach any chemicals into the environment, which is important if you're growing food in it. We paint it with a latex paint. It's a very low VOC, so there isn't any toxins being leached in. And that's a raft. This right here is a raft system that. Let's see if I can show you a good tray. So here's a tray with the rafts in it. And you can see these little pots right here. That's actually what the plants sit in, and it sits right in the water. So it's in the water, in contact about a third of the way with the water all the time. And it just slowly takes up the nutrients and cleans out helps break down and clean out the water for the fish. And it works really well that way. The only downside I could see to it was it's keeping the water at a good balance. And once I was able to get it there, it was very easy to maintain. I didn't have to do anything but just go in and check the temperature and feed the fish and enjoy it to grow, and maybe once a week check the chemical balance of the water. So a very efficient way to go. For a small scale, I probably wouldn't do it this way again. I'd probably go to a different system, which we'll cover here in a second. But do you guys have any questions about any of these rafts? Or
how did aquaponics get started?
Aquaponics actually can be traced back well over 1,000 years. I think the first one was on Lake Titicaca. I think that they used reeds that they would sew together, and they would grow their plants on an island to keep their food away from people trying to invade and take their food. So they would push the reed islands out into the lake that was nitrate rich from all the fish and everything, and they would grow squash or just all kinds of different native plants. So that's about as far back as I can see that aquaponics was created. The Asian market has been doing it for raising tilapia and doing this type of thing for a long time. Bangladesh it did it the same way with their swamplands. They would have an area where it was kind of swampy, and they would put out some fish to raise to eat, and then sew together some reed rafts and plant seeds in it and grow that way. And the idea got taken further probably in the 60s, and in the 70s there was a resurgence of it, and then it kind of started to die off, I guess, with the oncoming of OPEC and cheaper food. When the United States decided to start growing a lot of corn and wheat to try to supply the world, and then our food processing went up, food prices went down, and so the home gardening idea started to phase out. And so that's, in the last maybe 10 years, I think I've seen it resurface quite a bit. When I was in college, in horticulture, when we were studying crop science, it was brought up and laughed at. So it was in the back of my mind for years, I always thought it was kind of neat, but they always kind of, scoffed at it, Then they'd show a picture of a 10,000 acre ranch or a farm being sowed with, one style of wheat that was hybrid and all that, and that was the way of the future. Well, here we are today, and everybody's thinking that maybe we went the wrong way. So, to answer that question, Chris, I guess that's kind of a long...
Would you say that insulation just floats on the water?
The insulation just floats on about 8 to 10 inches of water. I was trying to find a good picture
What
of
kind of
that.
insulation is it again?
It's blue board foam insulation.
Oh, it's the blue board.
It's EPA certified to be direct burial on the ground. It's very, there we go. There's a, you guys can see it. Here's a picture of the raft with the roots sticking out through the bottom. And so that just sits right into a bed of water. And it, and like I said, it works really well, and for a large commercial system, I think it would work even better. And the reason I say that is I spent a lot of time and money, not necessarily a ton of money, but a lot of time trying to make this little system work. And it works really well, but there's a simpler and there's a better way to do it on a small scale, in my mind. And it depends on what you're growing too. The other bad thing about the raft system is you're somewhat limited on some of the vegetables you can grow. Like you can't grow carrots, beets do okay, so lettuce does the best, and certain herbs do pretty well, peppers do pretty well. But a lot of the bigger fruiting things like cucumbers and all that just took up so much space in that little greenhouse that it almost wasn't worth it. And the fruiting stuff doesn't seem to work as well in the floating baskets.
What else works? Get like tomatoes?
Tomatoes work great in the floater. The only thing is with a floating system, when you do tomatoes, they like they like it a little bit more acidic. So you've got to kind of adjust your system to be catered towards the tomatoes, or you'll get stunted little tomatoes. So it's kind of tough to grow the tomatoes and the lettuce in the same floating bed. Now, if you go to a bed like this, where this is a flood, and then it's an ebb and flow. It fills up, gets almost to the top of the gravel, and then I got an automatic valve that's energy free. It's just a basic vacuum valve. A Bell vacuum valve is what they call it. It lifts and it drains out that whole entire gravel bed, and that sucks oxygen into the rocks and helps the bacteria that we need to create the nitrates and the nitrites and the nitrates. And then the plants have a chance to uptake, and then it slowly fills back up with fish water and drains out again. And with this system, I have seen it, like fruiting plants and leafy plants do a lot better together. And why that is because maybe the tomatoes can derive more elements out of the rock. Maybe they have more time for the bacteria, they can adjust a little bit better.